The birth of OpTic. Where did the name OpTic come from? No one knows. The best guess would be it has something to do with optic or visuals like an optic lens in the scope of a sniper rifle. OpTic was originally a sniping team. OpTic's first founder was Ryan Musselman, aka OpTic J. Hector Rodriguez, or Hex, took over and kept the name of the team. OpTic J said Hex was the go-to guy for me when we were doing anything. It was nice to have him around. As an older guy, he was level-headed and had a career. He made smart decisions and understood the gaming community. This is why OpTic J stepped down and thought he made the right decision to give it to Hector. Hex decided to turn OpTic into a video game entertainment platform. He also learned that you can make money off videos, so this is what he did. Hex always thought about where he could take the company and make it better. He created a series called Top 5 Kill Cam on Machinima, and the main hub channel was called OpTic Nation. This is when he said we were going to play against everybody out there. Hex also gave 10 members of the team their own channels. This allowed the fans to get to know everybody on the team. OpTic was known as the Sniper Clan, but Hector was taking it to the next level. Hector kept the sniper team, but he created a competitive team, but their first attempt was a disaster. He was talking to Machinima about creating a tournament for competitive Call of Duty. This is how the Frag Cup was created. The team consisted of Hex, Diesel, Nerve, and Gunner. Hector was a very competitive person. Even if it was a simple argument, he wanted to win. Hector then came up with an idea to do something so different. Instead of taking the already established YouTubers on OpTic and then turn them into professional players, why not do the opposite? He would hire professional players and then teach them to be YouTubers. Members of OpTic had to volunteer 10% of their earnings to cover the expenses at first. Not everyone was profiting the way Hector was, but he said it was my team, so it would be my risk. But this was a way to involve the other members by giving them a sense of ownership. Building a pro team. Nate Shaw, or Matthew Hagg, was approached first by Nerve to be the captain of the competitive team. The weekend of MLG Dallas 2010, he learned a lot that now had proved that he could play at the competitive level and perform well as a captain. He said, I always had confidence in myself, but there's a big difference between knowing that you could compete with the best and then showing everyone else. Nate Shaw was successful on the competitive side because of his ability to connect. Nate Shaw could be described as the best friend you never had. Nate Shaw knew that Call of Duty is a game where if something isn't working, it probably never will. If your team doesn't click in the first 3 or 4 weeks, there isn't much you can do to fix it. In 2014, when Call of Duty Ghosts came out, the whole team fell apart. He decided to improve the team's chemistry. It was physical and mental. When they moved to Los Angeles, they did everything health-oriented, such as yoga and improving their diets. They even talked to sports psychologists and did team-building exercises. Hex made Big Timer, or Will Johnson, the esport manager for the team. Hector noticed his in-game leadership and that helped him become such a legendary player. He knew OpTic had a different strategy than others. They had a competition within themselves, and that was their strategy. OpTic knew they wanted to make sure their stuff was so different from each other's. Once Big Timer was interested in doing something, he dove in 100%. Seth Abner, aka Scump, saw that OpTic offered players so many opportunities to further their careers. OpTic mixed personality with competitiveness. Scump said, you want to make sure your teammates are reliable and have the same goals. You want to also consider factors like communication and how they are outside the game to make sure you get along. Scump believed that you had to learn as much as you can as fast as you can so you get ahead of the competition. Seth also believed in karma, and that's why he never talked trash to any other pro player. He knew if he said anything bad, it would come back around to bite him. Ashley Glassell, or Midnight, first saw montage videos by Hex and then started to become interested into OpTic. She wanted to see the type of videos she could make on YouTube. Hex wanted to put together an OpTic girl team. Hector had an eye on another emerging market at the time. He noticed that girl gamers had their own clans and following on YouTube, so he took it to the next level by creating a separate OpTic girl team. He felt this would be a great way to diversify the brand while attracting more fans in the process. Midnight knew she was apart from the pack because of the obvious reason of being a girl. She had a lot of hate for this, but Hector told her you just have to ignore them. Through the years. Heck's first really tough decision was to drop Nadeshot. He had to crush his dream, and Heck saw that Nadeshot was driven and determined to make a future out of Call of Duty. Heck trusted his team when they said nothing wasn't working out because they are the ones going through it. At first, Hector did not have contracts with his players. Since Hex did not want to lose Nadeshot completely, he decided to take him under his wing as his mentor and protector to teach him how to be a YouTube personality. Slowly, Nadeshot became a guinea pig for his vision, and he created a second team for Nadeshot called OpTic Nation. This created a comfort level where Nadeshot knew he was not going to be dropped. He did everything possible to accommodate Nadeshot. One of the hardest decisions Hector had to make as a team owner came in November of 2012. He dropped Rambo for Nadeshot. Rambo wasn't eligible for certain tournaments because of where he lived in Canada. Nadeshot would fill in for him several times. Rambo was considered the most strategic player in all of Call of Duty. He noticed that the eligibility kept disrupting the team and the chemistry. Hector always let the team make all the roster decisions, but this time he had to intervene. When Nadeshot retired, it shocked Hector. He saw that Nadeshot was stressing himself out and getting negative, so he decided to do what any other good friend would do and support whatever made him the happiest. Hector believed that Nadeshot was the guy who was pushing boundaries and helping set the example for what an esports athlete should be. There was never a player on the team that Hector hasn't taken an interest in personally. He said, "I always felt like a big brother to everyone on OpTic." Hector never wanted to hold the team from preventing to compete. He knew they weren't under any contracts and that he wasn't paying for travel expenses at the time. So if the team wanted to join another team because of that, he understood. The team wanted to go play Modern Warfare 3 overseas, and the team would join OpTic after. Hector never saw this as a betrayal. Hector admits that he would have done this all differently. His heart was on something else, bigger than a trophy at a tournament. After the team competed overseas and they wanted to come back, Hector welcomed them with open arms. Hector always wanted to see the company grow, but he cared about the success of the players. He knew these members were going to college and putting their lives on hold to pursue this dream. He always wanted them to be successful. Hex was always a spectator at events. He was always there for moral support, not coach them or anything. He would be in the stands trying to catch up with other owners and speak to any potential sponsors who show up and want to see what Call of Duty looks like from the ground floor. He made sure the league wasn't showing favoritism to OpTic because they're the popular fan favorite. He tried to keep everything as fair as possible because that's the only way the true competition could be attained. The OpTic House. Nadeshot, Scump, Merc, and Big Timer were the first ones from the team to live in the house. A gaming house was a place of work where players went to practice. For Hector, this was a house where the competitive team would practice but also create content. This enabled the players to build chemistry while living and practicing together. Hector said, "You guys typically see each other during events for 1 weekend a month. It's awesome and you enjoy each other's company. But when you live with someone 24/7, their mannerisms, cleanliness, and lack of cleanliness is going to get on your nerves. We're all men here, so if someone has a problem, let it be known. Don't hold anything back because it will blow up in your faces." The OpTic House wasn't like home, it was a workplace. You would make YouTube videos, stream for 8 hours, and then go to sleep. Hector believed that he had to take a role as a parent when they were in the house. He always made sure he didn't do anything that would hinder their growth. Hector believed that when you become a member of OpTic, it doesn't mean you get to relax. Joining OpTic isn't the goal. Joining OpTic is when you start over. You have the chance to work hard because you have the opportunity to experience the payoff. OpTic gives you the chance to reach that goal. Scump thinks the team house was used the wrong way and it tore the team apart. The team house was turned into a YouTube and Twitch competition to see who could get the most viewers. OpTic today and tomorrow. Midnight said there are girls out there trying to put together all girl teams and even co-ed teams just to compete because they want to be on the same level. Hex always saw one of the OpTic's goals from the very beginning was to cater the people who love Call of Duty. Rosters have changed and players have come and gone, but one thing that's remained consistent has been the fan support. People knew that Hex would do anything that could benefit OpTic as a whole, not just one person. Heck said, I would welcome more competition and I want nothing more than to have other teams grow as big as ours because it would strengthen the entire sport. He thought maybe it's finally time to expand to other esports. He never expanded earlier because he thought it was a responsibility as the biggest team in Call of Duty to stay focused on the scene.